Is everybody ready? Are we going online there? Okay. We'll call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the council meeting of March 17th, 2026. Thank you for being here. Big agenda tonight, so we'll hammer through it. First up, we are looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the council meeting on March 3rd, Community Center minutes from March 9th, Economic Development Authority of March 9th, Library Board March 10th, Park and Rec Commission of February 11th, Utility Commission of February 26th, and the regular bills. Unless anyone has corrections, additions to the agenda.
Do I have the one? I have the one that doesn't light up, that's why. So I just do have one question, I guess maybe more for Steve if he can help me maybe understand. In looking through the regular bills, and this is like a 2-week cycle of bills, I'm just noting that Jonathan Ekstrom, which I believe is the consultant that Telecom used or whatever. And so I'm noticing all the different departments are like split out paying, and in that 2 weeks I'm adding up to $6,800 of payments to that consultant within that 2-week period. And so I'm just wondering, a couple things. How is it determined that it's split out between the departments? Because I'm trying to look at, like, is it staff? Is it email accounts? Is it computers? You know, I'm not quite sure how that's going. And then the other thing is, because I've noticed it last year when I was looking at the end of the year, that was almost like 90-some thousand, I think that consultant was paid. And I don't remember seeing that as far as each different department budgeted for that consultant fee, or if it's somehow in with, so I'm just wondering, because I'm thinking this is getting to be a lot, and do all these individual departments have budgets that are reflecting to have all this additional cost be in everybody's budget? So if you can just help me understand that.
That's an excellent question, council member. It is a telecom contract that they have hired a consultant to help them with, like software upgrades, patches, conversions, things like that. And so some of the stuff that's being distributed to the departments is because we have shared servers. And so each department is getting a portion of that cost. I can look up what that exact percentage is, but I don't have that in front of me, but we can do that. I think it'd be a good question to bring up the Telecom Commission, because you note it is a fairly significant contract, and I would think that maybe that'd be a very good question for your liaisons to bring up, because there is a fairly sizable budget expenditure on that. And to answer your other question, the other departments, when we were going through the year, we've got a small budget for departmental cost. You know, there's a capital line item for that when we have to replace a server, that kind of thing. That we do have that line item, but some of the other line items where this gets charged to, it goes into the data processing line. And so there's a budget there. That's mostly for paying bills, things like that. So that's where it goes. So it would probably go over in some cases, depending on how much more it gets charged from this consulting contract. So they have not budgeted for this specifically, is to answer that question.
Okay. And then I guess for the liaisons and that go back to the telecom, as far as, you know, knowing, you know, how long this is going on for, or what kind of service. I guess I'd like to just know what kind of services they're contracting out versus, you know, doing themselves, like what kind of upgrade, or what, I guess, specifically were the department, and I think the department heads probably, that would be a good thing for them to know, like, what exactly are these fees going for? Because when I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, well, you know, one department compared to the other, if I look at how many computers they have, well, that doesn't make sense. How many staff they have, well, that doesn't make sense. I can't quite understand how that was, you know, there, but also I just know that some of them don't have that big of budgets, and so to have these incurring costs that they weren't aware of is concerning, I think, for some of these departments with their budgets. So just to kind of figure that out and see if this is an ongoing. Like I said, I know last year when I looked at it, it was over 90,000. And I'm looking at just 2 weeks that I'm looking at of the budget that we got in the council packet, and it's $6,800. So to me, that's concerning if that's kind of an ongoing thing that we make sure we're budgeting for, so. Thank
Duly
you.
noted, and I
Okay,
will
thank you.
address that.
Another quick question, is there just the one consultant or is there multi-consultants that we're looking at for the telecom?
I believe they formerly had a contract with Southwest West Central Co-op, but I believe that's been terminated, so I believe it's just this one that I'm aware of.
Okay, then I'll make a movement to accept the consent agenda, make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Benson, second by Sherman. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, department heads.
Jason Sikora, Electric Utility Manager. I just wanted to give the council an update on how our meter changeout is going. We currently have 1,300, let me check my sticky note here. 1,381 meters installed. This month we installed 881. We were kind of in a holding pattern until billing got going and some of that stuff. So we're only halfway through, so I'm expecting we'll get probably another 400 out yet this month, which we have 1,241 remaining now, so we'll have just under 800. So I'm hoping this time next month I can come back to the council and say we're pretty much done other than a few stragglers, but it's going well. We've had a few people ask questions about what's going on and maybe not necessarily want one, but we've been able to talk through those, and everybody's so far had one installed and been pretty receptive to it, so.
I know they came to my house and they said, take 5 seconds. And sure enough, we counted 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and it was 5 seconds and they were done. And we just had to go reset the clock on the stove and that was it. So really no major disruption there.
I've seen a lot of good comments that it's been very fast and no one's having any issues, so nice work. Any other questions, comments for Jason? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Other department heads?
John Nelson, Liquor Store Manager. I wanted to update the council on our next community drive that we're doing as part of the MMBA. Next month, April, is the 13th annual Help Your Local Animals Drive. So we do this every April. This will be the 5th year that we've participated in a pet adoption day at the liquor store. So April 11th. Cuyahoga County Animal Rescue will be down at the store collecting donations. I'm currently waiting on the list of supplies that they do need currently, but we will get that out there. It'll be on the front page of the shopper when we do that advertisement there the next couple weeks. Also included in that, I've met with Cuyahoga County Animal Rescue today, and they are in favor of being a recipient of the donations for another bourbon fundraiser that we're going to do that day that we've done for our other local community drives. So April 11th should be a pretty busy day, busy afternoon down at the liquor store. So
I just want to say thank you for doing that. I do a lot of work with them in my personal life, and it's definitely a big need. So thank you very much for doing that.
I know they talk about there's not too many animals that they have for adoption currently. But there is, in April, there is incentive to adopt as the MMBA has put together a reimbursement program throughout the state. There's $100 up for reimbursement for each applicant to put towards an adopted animal. So I think in the past years, we probably had 4 or 5 turned in, probably average over the last 4 years that we've participated in that. So it helps lower the cost of the adoption. So if you're interested, that's the time to look.
Thanks a lot, John. Any other department heads at this time? All right, moving on. Next up, we've got resolutions accepting donations. The first one we have is authorization to accept a donation from Marvin Grunig for Lohman Park. Marv Grunig is a supporter of the city of Windom, specifically for Windom Parks, and the city has received a donation of $500 from Marv Grunig. Well, after we accept this resolution, I imagine. Marv is willing to donate $500, and he requests that the donation be used for the purchase of trees at Lohman Park, which will be a nice addition, because if you've driven by there and noticed, all of the trees just came down. So we are looking for an introduction to the resolution to accept donation from Marv Grunig for Lohman Park.
I will introduce the resolution to accept a donation from Marvin Grunig for Lohman Park in the amount of $500.
I'll second that.
Resolution introduced by Sherman, second by Esplin. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to say Marv was, former council member, but also very instrumental in getting the Veterans Park, Memorial Park there. And so it's nice to see that he's giving back to his community and helping to make that Veterans Memorial area more beautiful.
Anything else from anyone? All right, we'll have a roll call.
Nelson.
Yes.
Quaid.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
Esplin.
Yes.
And again, thank you to Marv Grunig for the donation for that wonderful addition. Next up, we've got Lynch Family Foundation, Premium Iowa Pork LLC, Soaring Eagles Child Care Center donation. Are you coming up for this one? You want to? Just park it there for a little bit, I think.
Sonia Wilt, Director EDA. I'm sure you've heard, we've been raising funds for a child care center to be up at the Highland Center, or the Highland Early Learning or Early Childhood Center. We've been reaching out to businesses throughout the community. Premium Iowa Pork has agreed to donate $25,000 towards the renovation cost for the child care center, which we are hoping to open September 1st. Other entities include Windom Area Hospital, Midwest Bank, Remick Foundation. I think I'm missing one. Taylor Family Farms have all contributed towards this child care center, and so you're just accepting the donation from Premium Iowa Pork tonight.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from the Lynch Family Foundation, Premium Iowa Pork LLC.
I'll second.
Resolution has been introduced by Benson, second by Quaid. Is there any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call. Sorry, guys.
Benson.
Yes.
Quaid.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
Esplin.
Wonderful. Thank you for your work on that, and thank you to Lynch Family Foundation, Premium Iowa Pork LLC for that donation. Next up, resolution accepting grants. First up is Taylor Family Farms Foundation, Roots to Wings Child Care Provider Program.
So as part of the Windom's Way Forward, we have not only determined that we need a child care center, but that we also need funding to help our current providers to keep them licensed. As you may recall, we did a grant, a technical assistance grant through First Children's Finance last fall. And through that, we've determined that we are extremely short on childcare providers. In 2018, there were 35 of them in the area. Now we are down to 17, and we have others that are kind of close to retirement. And so our need is really significant to keep them here in the community. And as you're aware, the state is constantly increasing regulations and making it harder for them to stay in business. So last fall in November, I applied for a Taylor Family Farms grant. That was awarded, but it had a match requirement. So that match, we were awarded $20,000, but we needed to find matching funds for that. We now have matching funds for that, so we're accepting the Taylor Family Farms grant, and that specific grant will be used for our existing providers to help them with technical and financial assistance to keep their doors open.
Wonderful, nice work on that. Thank you.
I'll make a resolution to accept the Taylor Family Farm Foundation donation.
I'll second the resolution.
Motion has been made by Benson, second by Sherman, to introduce the resolution for the Taylor Family Farms Foundation grant. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Sherman. Benson.
Yes.
Quaid.
Yes.
Esplin. Nelson.
Wonderful. Next up, under resolutions accepting grants, the Robert and Helen Remick Charitable Foundation Trust Grant for the Roots to Wings Child Care Provider Program.
This is the matching piece to the Taylor Family Farms grant. We applied for this in January. It was awarded in early February, and so we're just accepting that here. I would make a side note, the school also applied for funds from both Taylor and Remick, and they were matched as well. So but part of that to go to the Child Care Center, and then part of this, again, is this $20,000 in addition to the Taylor is we'll put $40,000 towards helping our local providers that are already in business or expanding in family provider situations. So.
I'll make a motion to accept the Robert and Helen Remick Foundation Charitable Stuff Grant. It's a mouthful.
I'll second the resolution.
Resolution has been introduced by Benson, second by Sherman, to accept the Robert and Helen Remick Charitable Foundation Trust Grant. Any discussion?
I just want to say the obvious. We're very thankful for people that get together, people that take initiative and make big decisions and big impacts. We're very thankful.
And again, nice work, and we are taking in so much money to get this daycare center going, and I know you've done a ton of work. Everybody has that's involved in it, so it's just so good to see these programs and foundations and businesses come together again and again to help get it done. So thanks for facilitating that. All right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My concern is the streets around there, which you know, especially this time of the year when we get snow. I mean, I'm glad we're getting it and everything, but we're going to have to try to get a bigger parking lot or something up there for the people.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Benson.
Yes.
Esplin. Nelson.
Yes.
Quaid.
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
Thanks again. Next up, number 5 is the 2026 Street Improvement Project Resolution Awarding Bid.
Good evening, John Ketzimer, Streets and Parks Superintendent. I've got a resolution awarding the contract for the project of the 2026 Street Improvement Project. Advertisements for bids for the project entitled 2026 Street Improvement Project bids were received, opened, and tabulated according to law, and following bids were in compliance with the advertisements. Sabota Excavating was the low bid at $2,298,884. Alternative, $7,908. M&R came in at about $2,500,000 and some odd change. Dunick was $2,600,000 and some odd change. GM Contracting was $2,700,000 and some odd change. Jerpies was $2,802,000 and a bunch more change. And Crow River was right at $3,090,000. So Sabota's was the responsible bidder for the project and the low bidder. So I'd like the council to approve that, and if you got any questions.
Just one item to note, the agenda packet, the resolution there only listed 5 bidders. I handed out a corrected resolution that has the 6th bidder on it, which was Crow River. In the tabulation that the engineers had sent, that had all the information in it, but it was just because their bid form shows room for 5. There was a footnote on the bottom with the totals for the 6th bidder. Yeah, it wasn't broken out, itemized, and it just got missed inadvertently. So the revised resolution showing the 6th bidder doesn't change any of the outcome of it, but just so we're all clear that we had 6 bids and are taking formal action that way.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid for street department for Sabota Excavating.
I'll second.
Motion made by Benson, second by Quaid. Is there any discussion?
What was the engineer's estimate on that? Do you have that? I think it was closer.
Engineer's estimate was 3.4 million.
Oh, okay. All right.
Any other discussion or questions?
When do we start posting the businesses and telling them when we're gonna start putting up signs and, or stuff like that, or how do we do that then?
DGR is gonna start messing around with all that and everything. We've been in contact with Staples and Hy-Vee and started kind of talking things through and kind of getting plans for everything. Staples would kind of like to have the project start after spring planting, so probably end of May-ish, somewhere in there, depends on the weather and everything, because they got fuel deliveries and fuel going out to the farmers and everybody else that's gonna use a mass quantity of fuel. So we're trying to keep that in consideration and keep everything moving for him too. So it just depends on when all the contractors can get together and start moving forward on everything. So that's kind of the guessing date.
Thank you.
And as the street department, committee, we had talked too with the engineer on this, and they were they're very forthcoming in talking with businesses. They said if we had businesses that had questions or concerns, even now, way before the project, that they could go ahead and reach out to them. They also are going to keep the city website updated with information on the progress and what's happening and the timing and those kind of things, because yes, a lot of the businesses along First Avenue there, have customers that are coming in and out or deliveries coming in and out, and so it'll be very important for them to know what weeks or what days different things are happening in their areas and streets, and for the public too to know when you are going to be going to businesses and utilizing services along First Avenue during this construction period, that there's going to be different alternate ways and different things happening during this time, but they're going to try to make it so that there's never a long period of time that it's going to be that you're not going to be able to access the business somehow. It'll just be when they actually have to take the road off and when they have to put the new road down. For that period of time, it might be no service at all in that area. And then, of course, some of the streets, they have to actually dig down and do the work underneath. And some areas, they don't have to do that. So then that'll be a quicker and easier getting around. So we did have that discussion, and I felt very comfortable that the engineer would have updates and information out for the public and for the businesses well in advance.
So yes, pay extra attention to what's going on in Windom, please.
Any other questions or comments on the 2026 street improvement project? Right, that resolution was introduced by Benson, second by Quaid. No other discussion. We'll have a roll call.
Esplin. Benson.
Yes.
Quaid.
Yes.
Nelson. Sherman.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John. Next up, item 6, 18th Avenue Storm Sewer Improvement Project. We will have a resolution ordering improvements in preparation of plans and engineering services agreement with Johnson Engineering Group.
There you go. Dennis Johnson, Johnson Engineering Group. Since the last time we met with the street committee. We updated the assessments based on runoff coefficients, and that was based on an aerial photo. We used the aerial photo to come up with all the impermeable areas in each lot. Use that as 100% because all the water that hits that would run off. And on the areas outside of that would be impermeable. We use 0.1. We did that for the all the farm ground also. So we came up with an assessment roll based on that. It also included the city's contributions and also the culvert upgrades that we talked about at the meeting. So that, is there any questions?
I guess maybe not so much for you, but for Steve, because I know that we, at budget time, had a figure that we said we additionally wanted to go towards this project, and now I can't remember off the top of my head the number that the city's contributing to this.
Off the top of my head, I'll have to say, I believe it was 10,000. And then that was plus the engineering that we were already covering, and then I think there was another 20 or 28,000 on that, so.
Yeah, I think the original was 18 plus the 10, so the city's contribution was 28.
Any other questions or comments on this? Right, so with that, we are looking for an introduction of the resolution, ordering improvements and preparation of plans.
I'll introduce that resolution.
I'll second.
Resolution is introduced by Esplin, second by Quaid. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Nelson.
Yep.
Sherman.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Quaid.
Yes.
Esplin.
Right, moving on, we have the engineering services agreement with Johnson Engineering Group.
This is just the engineering services that are needed to move on to the next steps and see the project through bidding and then construction. The task order is in your packet, and I'm sure Dennis would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Dennis? On this, looks like the estimated fee for the work performed is $19,000. And with no questions, comments, we're looking for a motion to approve the engineering services agreement.
I'll make the motion to approve the engineering service with Johnson Engineering Group.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Benson, second by Sherman. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Next up, joint funding agreement, Des Moines River Gauge.
Okay, I'll do that one, Mayor. So as I got a memo in the packet, following the 2019 flooding, there was some deficiencies noted in the river gauge that was in Windom. This is a gauge that's on the county bridge up by the golf course. And so the city worked with the United States Geographical Service. and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and then some local stakeholders to get that gauge upgraded so that we could have more accurate information, and also they could then use more data for predictions of flood levels. And so that was put into place in 2021. We had a 5-year agreement with USGS for that gauge. They were going to pay for half of the cost of installation and operation, and then the city was going to pay the other half. And part of our half then was divided up amongst the local partners, which we've got Cottonwood County Soil and Water Conservation Service, Red Rock Rural Water, Cottonwood County Emergency Management, and the city's water department. And so our share, as I note in the memo, comes out to between 5,700 or 5,800 and 6,100 a year over the next 5 years. And in the packet, we just basically rolled ahead the 5-year agreement that we had signed in 2021 to now make this effective in 2026 to run through 2030, where it just lays out that the city will be the fiscal agent for USGS, and then the 3 partners will then pay $1,250 a year for the Soil and Water Conservation District, $1,250 for emergency management, and $1,500 for Red Rock, and then the city will make up the balance of that and out of our water department, and that number would be between $1,800 and $2,100 over the 5 years per year for over the 5 years. We're still waiting on the USGS agreement. The gentleman had I included the emails in the packet, but they had gotten a hold of me early this year and wanted to get that done. I said, yep, everything looked good. All the partners were good to move it ahead again. And so said, okay, do it. So we got this agreement out to the other funders, and they've all approved it with the county action this morning being the last one. USGS, however, due to government changes and shutdowns and things like that, we're not as far ahead. So they don't have the full agreement to us yet, but I've been assured that the numbers are going to stay the same. We're just waiting for the paperwork. But I thought, well, we should just get this step out of the way and get that done. So, so in front of you is the local funding portion of that river gauge. And so we're asking that you approve acting as fiscal agent, committing the city to approximately one-fourth or about 30% of the costs over the next 5 years, and then accepting the amounts that we're getting from the other local funders to make that payment to USGS.
I'll make a motion to approve the joint funding agreement with Des Moines River Gauge.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Benson, second by Sherman to approve the joint funding agreement for the Des Moines River Gauge. Is there any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve. Next up, resolutions supporting grant applications. First up is the DEED Economic Development Child Care Grant.
Back on our childcare theme, we've obviously been very busy with this project. DEED opened up a grant, a Child Care Economic Development Grant. They have approximately $1.4 million in funds into that. The maximum that you can apply for is $100,000. We would be using this for the child care center. The deadline is today. And it does not specifically say we have to have a resolution in place to apply for this, but based on all of the chaos that's going on in the state government, we wanted to just be a little proactive on this one. The total project we're anticipating to be about $275,000, 200,000 of that for the renovation costs for the building, and then approximately 75,000 for equipment, technical, security systems, all the kinds of things that need to go into that facility to bring it up to code. The grant has a matching requirement, so I'm applying for a $100,000 grant from DEED. and we have 125,000 already secured for those renovation costs, so there is no cost to the city as far as matching those funds. We've already secured that from other entities or private donations. 50,000 of that was designated by REMIC to go specifically for equipment, furnishings, things like that. So that's where the 275,000 comes in. So this resolution is just asking for your approval in case they come back later and say, did you get a resolution approving that? So
I'll make the motion to accept the deed for economical development for child care grant.
I'll second.
Resolution has been introduced by Benson, second by Quaid, to support the grant application for the deed economic development child care grant. Is there any other discussion on this?
Is there gonna be a lot of construction up there to the school?
So our original estimate was around $500,000, and when we had First Children's Finance come out and take a look and they did a walkthrough with us, they basically said, well, if you do this and this and this, we can drop that cost by. So we switched a couple of the rooms around where we were originally going to put infants. We ended up putting toddlers because they already had a little tiny toilet in there. And so by doing that, we didn't have to do plumbing in that room. So they literally, working with them, dropped our $500,000 investment down to $200,000. So a lot of it is some cabinetry that just needs to be updated. There's a door that needs to go in or be installed to the outside from the infant room, and then sidewalk that has to go in there so you can move cribs right out the door if there were a fire or an emergency. So there's not a lot. When Laverne built their child care center, they invested around $7 million to put that in, and we're literally opening a child care center for under $300,000.
Just a thought with Jim's theme in mind about the parking. I know that out there where the back fence is, there used to be no softball. Could that be turned into a parking area type of thing?
They have discussed putting like a circle drive in the back of that. Obviously, it's school property. We don't get to dictate how that's done exactly, but I know there's been discussion on options for that. But initially, I think that when we open in September, they'll have drop off at on the south facing road, and
Any other questions or discussion? All right, after being introduced by Benson, second by Quaid, to support the grant application for the deed child care grant, we'll have a roll call.
Sherman,
Yes.
Esplin, Nelson,
Yes.
Quaid,
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Thank you, Sonia. Next up, we've got a resolution to support a grant application for a DNR outdoor recreation grant.
So this particular grant is for Castle Kingdom. There's obviously been discussion on this a little bit in the recent past, but this one does actually require a resolution as part of their request for documentation, which is kind of what spurred the last one. It's like, oh, they're requiring it for this. Let's do it for both. We are looking at likely around $305,000 for this application. The estimated cost of that project is around $610,000. Originally, it was $563 off the top of my head. There is a handicap swing that the board has requested to add, which adds about $42,000. So we can apply for 50% match essentially. So that's where the $305,000 comes in, which is what I'm proposing to apply for. This would be awarded, or we would be notified, according to their documentation, in approximately mid-June, that those funds would not be available until early to mid-fall. So if we will know one way or another if we're going to be awarded those funds in June, so we can act accordingly as far as construction costs and when we can start. With the DNR grant and with other federal funds or federal and state funds, you can't begin construction or break ground until you sign that award agreement. So we're kind of in that. We'd like to start as soon as possible, but we're not going to throw $305,000 away if it's free money from the state.
I'll make a motion to accept the DNR outdoor recreation grant.
I'll second the resolution.
Resolution has been introduced by Benson, second by Quaid, to submit the application for the DNR grant for the outdoor recreation. Any other questions or comments on that?
I would add one thing, there is a matching piece to this, and part of that, obviously, you've got money in reserve already, and we've applied for other grants out there as well. Volunteer time can also be used, staff time can also be used towards that matching piece. One of the documents I read referred to real estate, which we already own the land up there. So I'm trying to narrow those down. Ideally, I'd like to write the grant, so we have to provide as little documentation as possible and don't create extra work for John on the backside. But I just wanted you to there is a matching piece to that, and we will work through how we're going to document that on the.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Quaid,
Yes.
Esplin. Nelson. Sherman.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Thanks again for all your work on that. Big efforts there, hopefully big payout. Yes. Next up, EDA recommendations. First on the list, construction financing, Soaring Eagles Child Care Center temporary loan.
So as I mentioned, that total project, we're anticipating around $275,000. As I mentioned, we were applying for that deed grant, and $175,000 of that cost has been raised already. And we do have other asks or requests out there, but the Windom Way Forward has approached the EDA board last week requesting that the city front up to $75,000 of those construction costs so they can begin as soon as possible. Now, we anticipate knowing on the deed grant early May or late April, whether or not that's something that's been awarded to us. But if it's not, that ask is that the city pays that or provides that $75,000 up front for those construction costs, with it to be reimbursed to the city when additional donations and stuff come in. I would note that the Windom Area Foundation has opened up a fund that will stay open to help with additional childcare costs as well. And like I said, we do have other asks out there, but this is kind of a backup plan. If that other stuff isn't in, we still want to be open by September 1. So.
I would make a motion to approve the temporary loan of $75,000 to the Soaring Eagles Child Care Center.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by Quaid, second by Sherman. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, childcare operational support, Soaring Eagles Child Care Center.
So this is honestly to be the key to making sure that this child care center can exist long or be sustainable long term within the city. We're essentially asking for an operational investment. Windom Ways Forward came to the EDA board, and they are recommending that the city council approve. It's a $28,000 contribution annually for the next 5 years. The hospital has already agreed to it. REMIC has already agreed to each of these entities providing $28,000 a year. We spoke with the county this morning. They're still debating. I'm wording it that way. They're discussing. But anyway, so essentially it's the hospital, the school, the city, REMIC would be 4 of the 5 contributors. We're anticipating losing approximately $140,000 a year. To be perfectly honest, no child care center in rural Minnesota is making money. It can't be, we can't charge what it would cost for it to be affordable for the residents of the community. So that's what this operational investment is asking for.
I would make the motion to agree with the 28,000 for a 5-year agreement for the childcare operational support for Soaring Eagles Childcare Center.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made by Quaid, second by Benson, to approve the $28,000 a year for 5 years childcare operational support for the Soaring Eagles Childcare Center. Is there any discussion?
Just commenting that, you know, this is huge. Childcare is one of the big reasons why people either, you know, come and live in a community and take a job in a community or don't, because and I think, you know, many of you, if you've talked with any businesses in town, you'll hear that they can offer jobs to people, and then when they come, it's, can I find a place to live, and can I find childcare? And if you can't find those two things, then they pass on the job. And so I think this is really significant for Windom, that I think we're a little better in the housing market, that we have a little more than what we did in a couple years ago. We have more housing opportunities, but the childcare definitely is one of the main things. And so I think if we can try to secure this and make sure that we have, you know, good, safe childcare in Windom, then hopefully we can get more businesses and more people moving to our town. So I think this is a win-win for Windom to invest in.
Interesting to note too, sorry, I might have my years wrong, but was it in 2017 there was 35 in-home child care providers?
Yep.
And now there's 17?
Yes.
And some are nearing retirement.
Yes.
So all the efforts with the child care center and the helping to help the in-home providers build up and hopefully spark some interest in some more, it really is a good investment for us that we really need to make. So thanks again for your work on that.
Is there room to grow?
So the plans that we currently have in place would allow for a max of 77 children. 179 is the shortage that First Children's Finance has determined that the city of Windom needs. With Cottonwood County and Jackson County, that goes to 520 shortage. So we have a lot of people that work from outside of town. We don't anticipate having any challenges filling the child care center. I can tell you that we did also make a request for congressionally directed spending just this last week, asking for $4.5 million to potentially put an addition on. That would be a phase 2, obviously, and obviously that's not something we can locally handle, but if we can get additional state funding for that, that's a long-term goal to consider.
Like we said, the need is there, and it's only going to grow. I mean, especially if we can restore some more businesses in town here, and like Jenny said, that'd be a great draw, that we do have daycare and a newer daycare system with our aging community and stuff like that. We need spots like that, and we need stuff like this to go on, and I thank you very much for that.
Any other discussion on this? All right, hearing none, after motion being made by Quaid, second by Benson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That's good news. That's 4 of 5. That's awesome. Nice work, again. Next up, resolution terminating contract for private redevelopment, Apollo Development LLC.
So obviously, there's not an apartment building out by Cottonwood Lake. It was originally supposed to be completed January 1 of 2024. Then that got extended to January 1 of 2025. We're now in March of 2026. They have not purchased the lot. They have not provided the $50,000 contribution towards the lift station. So the EDA board is recommending that we terminate this contract with Apollo and essentially find a new developer to build our apartment complex. I can tell you I've reached out to at least one developer already just to see if there's interest and some communities to find out who they've used or who they'd like to work with. I don't think we want to be in this position again where we're waiting 3 or 4 years. This contract was originally signed with them or dated in 2022. And obviously, there's been a number of things with High Life closing and things that have delayed that, but I think we're still beyond, we're sitting at 4 years and nothing going on out there. So we reached out to the attorney. He said that because we are well beyond that original completion date, we're not required to send them any notices of default or anything like that. We can just send them a cancellation or a termination of this contract and then start seeking other developers.
I'll make a motion for the resolution to terminate the contract for private development.
I'll second.
Resolution has been made by Benson, second by Quaid, to terminate the contract for private redevelopment, Apollo Development LLC. Is there any other discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Esplin. Yes. Nelson. Yes. Quaid.
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, resolution approving TIF 122 interfund loan agreement, Semstone redevelopment grant repayment.
So because that contract was not completed and that that apartment building has not been built, we are now subject to essentially paying back deed for part of those grant funds that went into the infrastructure for that project. It is a 10-year payback, so it ends up being 2 payments a year of approximately a little over $21,000. We will file an annual report with them each year that shows how much of that development is done. So our first payment back to them would be a little over $21,000 in August of this year. We'll get a notification in the next week or so that says you're essentially in default. You haven't met the requirement of having a certain level of development out there. And so that first payment will come in August. The next one will come in the spring. But as we complete the project out there, as there is development, finding a new developer, getting that apartment complex built, then we'll report that to them and that will decline. So as new houses go up there, as twin homes go up there, anytime we have new development and it increases the tax value and such, it decreases what we have to pay back. So the max we would have to pay back is $424,000 over 10 years. But again, as development occurs out there, that declines, and if we can have an apartment building up in 2 years, that the chance that we have to pay anything back after that, significantly decreases. But
So, sorry.
oh, you're okay.
It's the Lord speaking to you. How much do we have to actually get built there to get to the place where we don't make any of these payments?
So there are certain, I'm not sure if I have a copy of that in here, but so the guidelines specifically, we're looking for a 25 to 30 unit market rate apartment building, single family home, lake home, and and duplex. So those were kind of the 4 things that were part of that agreement. Now, obviously, when they requested documentation from me in January, it was what are your current tax rolls essentially on that property. So they're looking to see how probably a certain level of growth, essentially from where it was. I think it was around 6,000 when Semstone had it. And they're looking for, to see that those lots either have homes or they have apartment complexes and stuff on them to say that we've met their guidelines. There's not a specific dollar amount in that contract, but I think they're looking for, is that apartment building done? Is there a house out there? Is there a twin home or a duplex out there to meet those regulations?
So it's definitely in our best interest to get things done as quickly as possible.
Yes, and obviously the apartment building is going to have the biggest impact on decreasing that amount that we would pay back, and they will analyze it annually. So it'll be $42,000 for that first year, but if we have, like I said, if we have an apartment complex out there, that should drop it significant because it's such a large value. Oh yes, it is 0% interest. So over that, there's no additional cost. The $424,900 was what they originally provided to us. There's no additional cost to that.
Okay, good. No penalty, no fee, no interest.
And what the interfund loan agreement does, because that's in a TIF district there, so we don't have, right now, we don't have sufficient resources in that TIF district to pay that clawback from deed. We'll be looking at using the repayments from the loan that we have with Premium Iowa Pork, because we get $100,000 a year from that. So we'll pull those payments in, make that repayment back to deed, and then basically then have a balance due out of that TIF district, so that when those dollars do flow into that TIF district, we can then reimburse ourselves for the Premium Iowa Pork money and be able to recycle that into other uses. So that's what this interfund loan agreement's for.
Good deal.
Is there a need for an apartment building out there at the present time?
You know, I would tell you that Lakeside stays pretty full in their apartment complex. These will be a higher level of apartment out there, garages, you know, overseeing the lake, higher end finishes. I think there's probably a market for it. It's not workforce housing. It's not like Windom Landing or something like that, but.
Isn't the other place still empty? A lot of the one we
Windom
built for,
Landing?
yeah.
I think there's probably about 40. I think the last I heard, there was approximately 40 people in there. I'm not sure if that's current or not. I can tell you on the positive side, Premium Iowa Pork has 75 new employees from, you know, in 2025. Toro's hired at least 300 employees in the last quarter of last year. The hospital would love to hire, but, you know, the childcare has been an issue for them. I think there's definitely demand in people that would like to move into nice homes and some good jobs. Again, I just wanted to find out if the need Yep.
was, because I don't want to build something that we didn't, it's
Sure.
empty type of thing. That's what people were looking at last time when we built apartments, and I don't want that to start all over again.
No, and I think like I said, I think we're seeing some growth in jobs in the community, which is great. And, you know, having new housing or opportunities there is definitely brings people in, along with our childcare, which will hopefully just, yep.
So with that, we are looking for someone to introduce the resolution approving the TIF interfund loan agreement for the Semstone redevelopment grant.
I will introduce that resolution.
I'll second it.
Resolution has been introduced by Sherman, second by Benson. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Quaid,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Esplin, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Sonia, for all your work on all of this. Thank you. Next up, professional services agreement, wage study proposal recommendation.
Okay, I'll take this one, Mayor. So when we did the labor negotiations for the last contract, that was in '24, one of the caveats of it was that a wage study would be done prior to the next contract. So our contract runs through 2026, so the negotiations for '27 and beyond will start sometime probably late summer, early fall. So what we did is I sent out a request for proposals to 7 firms from Minnesota that do this sort of work. We got 4 responses to that proposal. The last council meeting, you approved us having a staff ad hoc committee to review those proposals and make a recommendation back to you. The 4 proposals were from ABDO, DTA, Human Resources, Flirty and Hood, and MRA. The group looked at the proposals. The MRA one was about twice what our budgeted funds were, so that one got bumped fairly quickly. The Flaherty and Hood folks, as you may recall, that's who does our lobbying and things for Coalition Agreement Minnesota Cities. They did also represent the city in last year's last time's negotiations. So there was some feeling that there may be potential conflicts of interest there. So it came down to the ABDO and the DDA. They both do work in other communities and are smaller communities in the greater Minnesota area. But the consensus of the group, it was unanimous that we engage Abdo. And so that their proposal has been included in your packet. The cost for Abdo would be about $18,800. And so I did speak with them today, so they are ready to go on board if council approves this. And I guess I can answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions on this?
Excuse me. With Ron Trammell taking what he does, will he stay on board until we get all the other stuff finished up, if we accept these guys?
This doesn't really have much to do
Oh,
with
that doesn't
Mr.
really-
Schrammel,
Okay,
no.
okay. I'll make a resolute or motion to accept the services of, what was it? Abdo Services.
Motion made, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by Benson, second by Sherman, to accept the professional services agreement with Abdo for the wage study proposal. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, personnel recommendations, city attorney services recommendation. Mr. Sherman, would you like to take this as the personnel chair?
Sure. Obviously, the community probably knows by now that Ron Shermel, our city attorney, is going to be retiring from his services for the city. So we had to look into getting a new city attorney. And so we had a number of interviews with a few people, a couple different groups. Kennedy and Graven was one of them. And after we heard everything that was said by the different groups that were being interviewed, so to speak, we felt like Kennedy and Graven was probably the best fit for the city of Windom. And so that is the basis by which we are recommending this. Also, they did not just a good job during the interview, but they fairly answered all of my questions for sure, and I believe the other people on that call. And so that's what we're looking at to recommend for tonight.
Do you have anything to add to that, Steve?
Nope, just in the packet is the engagement from Kennedy and Graven, and as well as some background information on their firm. The lead attorney does work for the city of Marshall. They also do Olivia. They do city attorney work for Mankato and several other cities. That was Pam Whitmore. And then Mary Tesian would be kind of the backup or the co-counsel that we'd be looking at. And so I think Personnel Committee was unanimous in their recommendation of Kennedy and Graven that we give that a try. Obviously, it's going to be different not having the city attorney on the same block and walking around the corner. But I think Kennedy and Graven had made a very good effort on how they're going to build rapport, build trust with staff and the elected officials. And so I think that was some of the basis of your recommendation as well.
Sure was.
Now I'll make the motion to accept the personal recommendations for the city attorney for Kennedy and Graven.
I'll second.
Motion made by Benson, second by Quaid. Is there any other discussion on this?
Just one thing to point out, that Kennedy and Graven, that is for our city business and contracts and everything with the city. Just to distinguish for the public that the prosecution with city work that is still done with Christy Myron is who we've contracted with that, so that will continue. So just people that realize when you hear city attorney and you just assume that that is all encompassing, it's two different things, where Ron Trammell did just the city contract, the city work, and then the prosecution for the city is handled separately, so that will stay that way.
Yep, the civil and the legal are separate, yep.
And I would just like to add that all of the interviews were great. Everybody we spoke to, I thought, did a really good job. Kennedy and Graven, the two women we spoke to were very personable. I think they're going to do a great job, and there's a whole team of attorneys behind them. So we felt, I think, very comfortable with the response time and just the team of experts behind them. And again, to thank Ron for his years of service. I think I read in the annual report that he was engaged with the city in 2013. So does that sound right? So sad to see him go, but good to find a good replacement. Does anyone else have anything on this? All right, the motion was made by Benson, second by Quaid. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, Riverbend Liquor, non-union part-time.
John Nelson, Liquor Store Manager. I have a couple recommendations for you tonight. We'll start with the first as our non-union part-time liquor store clerk. So it is my recommendation to hire Chelsea Stevens as a non-union part-time liquor store clerk at a starting wage of $15. That wage is in accordance with the wage scale for the seasonal part-time and swimming pool employees. So back in mid-December, I met with Chelsea as part of our probationary review. She is currently our union part-time clerk. Well, was. At this time, she met the demand of work, but the hours that she was put in did not meet the job quota. The job post is for 15 to 29 hours a week, and she was averaging about 13 or 14 hours per week. At that time, I extended her probation 3 months into March. On February 18th, I completed Chelsea's annual review, which is done according to city policy. From there, she received an above average score in her review, but the downfall was that she was only put in about 13 hours or less of work a week, when the position requires 15 to 29 hours. Chelsea and I then discussed the potential of leaving the union position and potentially rejoining as a non-union part-time clerk, in which she's not required to put in more than 14 hours a week. After that, she did submit her resignation on February 27th, with her resignation date as of yesterday, March 16th. So with that, she also put in there she wanted to be hired back as a non-union. So it is my recommendation to hire her back as a non-union part-time liquor store clerk at the wage of $15 an hour. That puts her at the 1 year mark on that part-time wage scale, which she has been there for about 9 months. And with the idea of not having to train her at all, I think it's a good starting wage for her.
I'd make a motion to hire Chelsea Stevens for the non-union part-time clerk.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Quaid, second by Sherman to hire Chelsea Stevens for the non-union part-time clerk. Any discussion?
Do you got somebody lined up for the union part yet? Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, union part-time.
Thank you. So it is my recommendation to hire Sarah Sheppy as a union part-time assistant liquor store clerk. This is a grade 1 position on the union scale. It is my recommendation to hire at step 1, which is $16.67 per hour, according to the IBEW union wage schedule, with a 6-month probationary period. Upon successful completion of her probationary period, a step increase would be awarded. So as I said, on February 27th, Chelsea resigned her position as a union employee. In late February, an internal and external job posting was posted. The posting had no internal transfer requests within the union. Externally, we did generate 7 applications. So last week, I conducted 5 interviews. We had 1 not return a call to an interview, and another one withdrew as of Friday, a couple hours before her interview. So upon completion of those interviews, it is my recommendation to hire Sarah Sheppy as a union part-time assistant liquor store clerk at a wage of $16.67.
I'll make a motion to hire Ms. Sheppy as the union position.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Benson, second by Sherman to hire, Sarah Sheppy as a part-time union employee at Riverbend Liquor. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Next up, mayor appointment, library board. Kari Hansen called me last week and requests that we appoint Jan Demlow to the library board to fill the term of Anita Winkle. Anita Winkle passed away, which has created a vacancy on the library board. Her term was to run through December 31st of 2026, and so Jan would be appointed and would fill that seat. I did talk to Jan. She's a huge fan of the library. She was friends with Anita Winkle, and she said she would be honored to take the seat. So with that, I am looking for a motion to approve the appointment of Jan Demlow to the library board.
I'll make a motion to approve her to the library board.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Esplin, second by Nelson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, 2025 annual report. Included in the packet is the annual report. You want to take this?
It was sent out as a separate
Oh, I'm
link.
sorry.
It was sent
Yes.
out as a separate link because of the size of it. So, annual report is something obviously we do each year. It's a very good statistical summary from all the departments of all the things that they do on behalf of the residents and citizens of Windom. Tell you how many kilowatt hours of electricity were sold, how many gallons of water were pumped out of the wells, how many books were lent at the library, how many miles of fiber we've got, and how many arrests we made, and how many of everything and anything. I'd like to thank the staff for all the work that they put in to do it. It is a labor of love in some situations, and maybe not as well received in others, but you can see that some of the narratives, they take a lot of pride in not only their work, but in also presenting it to the public. So I'd like to thank them for that.
So the annual report, it was nice. We had a snowstorm blizzard weekend so that I could go through and read all that. So it is pretty lengthy, and the link is on the City of Windom website, so you can go and look at that annual report. But I do want to take just a few minutes and just highlight a couple quick things with each department so that people know like what's in there and what to be looking for. So I'll be as brief as I can, but I think, you know, the staff puts a lot of work into this, and if you look at it, you'll be able to tell that they really do put the time and effort into making this report. So like the library, it's talked about, they had 208 new patrons in 2025. They have 2,295 registered borrowers, and they had like 30,528 items lent to home use last year. So just their statistics of how many use the library. The arena and rec, obviously, you know, with no pool, that was in the report. Projects that they were looking at, the Hockey Association donating, and their new projects that'll be coming to fruition here in 2026 of a new scoreboard, 2 more locker rooms being remodeled in the sound system, the new Zamboni coming on, how the Windom Athletic Boosters had raised funds to sponsor dugouts, or put sponsorship on dugouts to raise money for a new scoreboard at the baseball field. EDA, we heard lots on that already tonight, but all that is in the report about the childcare and the Roots to Wings, the supporting the in-home childcare programs, the Castle Kingdom. Also, you know, just a lot of grant writing. Boy, if anybody needs to know about how to write a grant, I tell you, Sonia's like, don't call me. She has wrote lots. Then decertifying of 3 TIF districts in 2025, and those properties are back on the tax roll then for the city, county, and schools to receive those funding. The ambulance talked about in 2025, they had on average 3.27 calls a day. They had a total of 1,195 calls in 2025. The community center talked about how they had increases in sporting events, business meetings, churches, activities, banquets, anniversaries, celebrations of life. That was kind of a new thing coming on more with them. They do have 7 weddings booked for 2026 already, and they hold a total of 278 events in 2025, including they have co-ed volleyball and pickleball up there. Then the wastewater and water department, they talked about in 2025 was their 4th year of operating the upgraded facility, wastewater treatment facility. They've had no violations up there, doing well. And if you go to the water department, they have a really nice table that graphics that show you what percent, like the businesses, the resident use, the pork plant, the poet, all those things, how much everybody uses of water if you're interested in looking at the nice tables that they have. The electric department talked about 2,181 residents or customers of the electric department, 354 commercial and 42 industrial customers. Interesting to note, 530 city-owned streetlights. I didn't know that, but reading the report, I pulled that out. The largest users of electric are Toro, the pork plant, the school, and Windom Area Health. And then, like you heard tonight, they're doing their conversion of their meter systems, which should be done soon. The liquor store had lots of graphs and charts, and so if you check that out, you can see it talks about their wine tasting. They had 167 in attendance for that, how they donate and help fundraise for the fire department, the pet adoptions, always kind of trying to do things, the food shelf too, also collecting donations for that. And then it is interesting to see that the top liquor sales was Fireball, the top wine sales was a Sweet Red, and the top beer sales was a Busch Light. So when you read that, you'll see, you can check out what your beverage of choice is and where it ranks on the sales category there. Telecom, they talked about their fiber spans over the 51 miles over the city. They ended their cable in December of 2025 and then launched the streaming service, and they average a daily internet traffic of 19.6 terabytes. Building and zoning, they highlighted they had 176 building permits last year, 30 zoning permits, and 4 new single-family homes. The fire department has 35 active firefighters, and they were on 72 calls in 2025. 36 were rural and 39 were city. And the PD, theirs, I'm sorry, I might be a little biased, but theirs was really good. I mean, EDA was right up there, but, and the liquor store too with your graphs and charts. I do like graphs and charts, but PD, what I'll say about theirs that was different and stood out to me on the others is each officer, each person in PD, even Deb from the support staff, all had a comment with their picture, and they all talked about what they highlighted in 2025. So that was really good to see from the perspective of each person in that department, what they saw. There were the 2 homicide investigations, which, you know, we never like to hear, but it definitely was a highlight, I guess, if you want to call that, of what had to happen within the PD. 43 DWI arrests, and let's see. They also got their new body camera, and it has AI technology that translates, I think, like over 50 languages now. And so it was just, theirs was really good. I highlight that you check that out. And then the street department talked about the ash tree removals. I think a lot of people noticed that around town. The shelter at Island Park that was removed and the new one that's going up to replace it. The 2025 alley project that happened, you know, around downtown, and then Castle Kingdom coming down. So just a lot of great things. And so if you haven't taken a chance to look at that link for the annual report on the city website, I highly encourage it. It's just a lot of good stuff, some of the stuff that I didn't even realize and I learned from reading that report. So thank you, and thank you for all the staff, the time and effort that goes into that. Know that we do appreciate that, and we do read that, and I hope the public does too.
And I just want to say thank you to all the people that had their fingers on this, because it's a 29-page thing, and I couldn't get through it all without my eyes starting to water a little bit, because I just can't read very well, but it'll tell you all the nuts and bolts, what it takes to make this city work. And if you doubt any staff involvement, any people that work for the city of Windom, that they're not involved with this project of keeping the city of Windom going, look at this. If you want to find your problem areas or even the great areas, it's in there. It's all in there. And I suggest you guys take a look at it, because like I said, it'll tell you where your transparencies, where your money's going, where it is being invested wisely, and the whole 9 yards, right down to the water and even everybody. I mean, I thought it was amazing, and I'm not a reader, like I said, but it's pretty neat. They've done a great job of getting this all put together, and I want to thank each and every one of you guys for the staff of City of Windom that done this, and it's a great job. Thank you very much.
There was a lot of graphs and charts, so it was easy to
I will echo that the annual report is great. Everyone should check it out. There's a lot of information in there. Well done to the department heads. It's also really interesting to look through there and see, all of these things are things we talked about all year, and then to see it come to fruition and just see the progress made over the year. So thank you to everyone that put time and effort into that. Very well done.
We'll take a motion to accept this when you're done, and maybe next year we can get the airport manager to step up his section.
I'll
make
make
the
a
motion.
I'll second Jim's motion.
Motion to approve the 2025 annual report has been made by Nelson, second by Sherman. Is there any other discussion on this?
And we do have an airport. Sometime he'll get it done, right?
There was an update on the airport in there.
We're making some progress out there. There's a lot going on out there this year that hopefully we'll get some time to let you guys come out and see what's going on out there too.
Any other discussion on the 2025 annual report? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, new business. Does anyone have new business? Not seeing any. Is there any old business?
Still waiting for MnDOT on that traffic signal thing, and I talked to the Megan Cato office. They just said it's coming. It's just got to get through its channels, so I expect it shortly.
I'm just wondering about our request for proposals for telecom. If we should look at setting a date, because I'd like to see if we could do a public meeting similar to what we had before, where all the people that would make proposals could have an opportunity to present that to the public and to city council. So if we could do a special meeting of city council and set that date for whether it's end of April, beginning of May, I would just like to get that out there so that we have plenty of time and notice to have that and be very transparent to the public so that they know they're invited and they can put that on their calendars to be there and hear that.
Their proposals are due April 20th, so I assume we'll probably need a little bit of time to look those over and, get the advertising out for this, but it's up to you as when you want to set that meeting for.
Keep it on the radar and set a special meeting at another time, or are you ready to do that now?
Well, I was just thinking as the proposals come in, then if we had a date set and then we have plenty of notice for the public and for the media and everyone else to be there. I think, last time, I don't know if we had as big a turnout as I think we maybe were thinking. So I would like to be able to make sure that we have a date locked in so that we can have a better turnout for it. And also so then the people that are making those requests or proposals have plenty of time and know in advance that this is the date and to be prepared for that as well.
So it looks like they're due on Monday, April 20th, and our meetings in April are the 7th and the 21st. So maybe we look at setting something at a later time, or you can make a suggestion now, or we just keep this on the radar unless you have a date in mind.
I guess I was just looking at, maybe the last Tuesday of April, the 28th or something like that we look at like a week after because they'll be in on the 20th. We'll meet for council on the 21st if we wanted to go in closed session and have any discussion there, and then look at like that following week setting up.
Do we think that from the bids all being in on the 20th, the 21st is time enough to go into closed session and then set a special meeting for the next week?
I guess that's up to you all to decide what you want to, discuss, because there's only certain things that can be discussed in a closed session. One is negotiation for land sale, which this is, but when you're talking proposals, you're not talking about a specific land sale to a specific party at a specific price. So I would not think that we would probably be able to do a closed session prior to hearing the proposals out. Now, if you pick a party or parties to sit down and negotiate with, that can then be done and shared back with the council, but I don't know that we can do that to evaluate proposals specifically.
And I think that's why I want to set this date and have this done, because I feel like last time there were people that were saying we went into negotiations and closed meeting and we started down a track, and then they're like, oh, wait, we need to do this differently and be more transparent and have everything, So now, okay, let's have that right away and say, okay, whatever comes in, I don't anticipate we're gonna have more than 4 or 5. I mean, maybe we'll have dozens, who knows, and have to narrow it down, but I would think that we could handle having, at least 4 present on a Tuesday night or whatever night we pick. And if we need to look at narrowing that down at our council meeting on the 21st, or having the, something narrowed down, if that even needs to happen. But I just would like to set the date so that we have that out there.
Does anyone have any input on this?
I feel, it's just my personal feeling, that this, it's good to have a date, but I wonder if the 28th isn't too soon. Because just getting all those in by April 20th, certainly some will turn them in earlier, and then some will not be able to turn them in until maybe even the 20th. I just feel like that date is too soon, because we're not in a rush. It's not like an emergency to look at what they're saying. But certainly I would like to see it, to see an informational meeting before June hits and see what they have to say.
Yeah, I guess I would be in disagreement. I would say that this is kind of a rush, because there are additional funds that we continue to include, just like when I talked about how we have almost $7,000 in 2 weeks that we're paying out in technology or contract fees, those kind of things, like we're continuing to bleed money here. So I think it is something that we need to think about sooner than later. And I don't see why, people turn it in by the 20th. We should be able to figure out who we want to present by the 28th, or even if we go to March 12th, the Tuesday after the first meeting in May. I think we should be able to get this wrapped up.
May 12th, you believe?
And what if we have more than 4 RFPs? Do we need a second meeting then to give them adequate time to present, or are we just going to shorten their presentations, or be something we'd have to talk about?
Yeah, I think that's something we could talk about on the 21st.
You could set a date and a time, and then after the 20th, you'll know how many you've got, and then you can either set a second meeting or, work it in. tend to agree with you. I don't think you're gonna get more than 3 or 4, maybe 5. And if you did a half-hour piece, that's a 2.5-hour, 3-hour meeting, which is reasonable. It's a little long, but it's reasonable. So if you want to set a date, so if you're talking about the 12th of May, then you could do that and add to it if you need to, or, I just picked that because it's the second Tuesday of the month, and you don't have a regular council meeting, but you generally have those dates penciled off.
Well, I will make a motion then, just so we can get that started, for having a special meeting on May 12th. Hopefully we can do that at the community center again, if that is available, to have a public presentation of the proposals for telecom.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Would that be a joint meeting with telecom board, or is this just a council?
I guess I was just saying council. Telecom, I'm sure board members would be there, be
Sure.
present, but I don't know. When we did it last time, it was kind of, I think if the council just directs the meeting, that should be good.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so we have a motion made by Quaid, second by Benson, to have a special council meeting on May 12th at the community center, pending availability, I would suppose. What time are we doing this meeting?
That's up to you all.
I would note that I believe on that evening we have a planning commission at 7, so it would have to be before that gets done. Uh, 4:30 would be the probably earliest that I could make that.
That would work.
Yeah, I'll report back to you as soon as, but if we can get the date and time set up, then that'll give me more to go on.
Okay, well, I'll add 4:30 then for start time to my motion.
Got it,
I'll
okay with
second it,
you?
yeah.
All right. Motion made by Quaid, second by Benson, for a special council meeting, May 12th, beginning at 4:30 at the community center for the purpose of public presentation of the proposals that received for telecom. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, council comments. Would anyone like to start?
I have no problem. I'll talk to you guys. But no, I just want to say with the winter come back again today, so or yesterday and the day before no storm and stuff, just be careful as the snow melts and everything gets all springy looking and people get excited. Just watch out for people out walking around, getting the air, kids out moving around, getting their bicycles going, and just be conscious of people out moving around and take care of your neighbors and help each other out, because that's what we got and that's what we take care of, Windom people. Thank you.
I just have one short little thing. I think it's kind of cool how with the 2025 annual report, all the activity that is happening, so many different venues, different departments, different groups of people. It's really cool, and it does show that we're growing. So one thing I was thinking about is the fact that we have so much to be thankful for, because obviously a city like Minneapolis will not sit down and go through the report and say, let's list a few hundred of the things that we've been doing in Minneapolis in the last year. But we can do that still because we're still connected. And so we enjoy the benefit of having a smaller community and still recognize that we are growing, even though some things are more growing pains, but we are growing, and it's a great thing that so much is going on in our community.
Mr. Nelson, do you have council comments? None tonight? Oh.
I was gonna see, Sonia, maybe you could get a sign, the Leaning Center up there. Maybe the state would kick in a little money that way.
I just had down to note something we've all said already tonight, was just to thank each department for their dedication, again, as shown in the annual reports. They were all very well done. And good job to the street department for getting all that street snow plowed over the weekend. You know, everyone's doing something all the time, but that was a big job, and I know you guys are shorthanded, so it looked great out there, and I think we are all excited for the spring weather that will be here at the end of the week. It's gonna be messy, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So if no one has anything else, Steve, do you have anything? Nothing?
One more thing, we got to try the new blower out at the airport. There was some drifts out there taller than my car, longer than this room, and that thing ate it up like it was popcorn. And it just, I was at awe. And I sat in my car and watched it blow snow, and I enjoyed that. That was pretty neat. It is a great thing. No, I'm glad we got something decent around here that'll take care of that kind of stuff, because it's rock hard. I could walk on top of them snow drifts, and it went right through it like it was butter.
Right, if no one has anything else, we'll adjourn this meeting by unanimous consent.